I'll instruct you by codec after you reach your target. As usual, this is a one-man infiltration mission. Top secret black op. Don't expect any official support.
This is Wolf. Seems to be some kind of interference. Commander, do you hear me?
Loud and clear.
I got the documents.
Age hasn't slowed you down one bit.
I wouldn't be too sure about that.
Are you okay?
Met some resistance. Got slugged. But I'm okay. Put down through the real quiet like.
What's the situation?
The safe house hasn't been compromised. Unfortunately, the documents, they're encrypted.
Just as I expected.
Guess I'll just have to start decrypting them.
If you need to, contact me by codec.
Got it. Wolf out.
This is Warlog 234 by W.A. Dunkel. I've uncovered some documents detailing the events of Task Force X almost destroying the world by accident in an attempt to save it. Fortunately, with some dumb luck, they managed to undo their mistakes in the nick of time. The world should know about these heinous crimes committed by our own government. At least as soon as I'm done decrypting this shit. I can finally be me. I can finally be me. And this whole thing here, I did actually injure my arm. Can't box, can't fight for a while, but I can do this now. So, a review of the Suicide Squad. This is gonna be short. Sometimes I watch a movie and I love it. Other times I watch a movie and I hate it. Sometimes I like it initially, then I collect my thoughts and I absolutely hate it other times. I hate it initially and I collect my thoughts. I'm like, damn, it had a lot of redeeming qualities. Oh, if you want good examples, okay, you got the latest Star Wars. I watched it and I dug it. I really dug it while watching it, and after watching it, I was like, After thinking, recollecting my thoughts, I was like, maybe it was just an average movie. After sleeping on it, I absolutely hated it. But then you got BVP, Batman versus Superman. I actually didn't like it while watching it at first. Like, there were things I liked, but I just saw the bad things, and all in all, it was a bad movie. But then, after collecting my thoughts, I actually realized that the redeeming qualities were really good qualities we haven't actually seen in other Batman movies, which made this a very special Batman versus Superman movie. Even some of the Superman parts were really good. The part that really massacred the whole movie was Lex Luthor, but that's a different story. Anyway, what about this movie? The Suicide Squad. I watched it. I was like, bleh, this isn't a good movie. After watching it, I was still like, blah. After collecting my thoughts, I was like, oh my god. Yeah, this isn't a good movie at all. It has no redeeming qualities. It might have a few, but mostly no redeeming qualities. Nothing like its predecessor. So, let's dive into it. A review of The Suicide Squad. The story. Round 1. What if this was a standalone movie with no relation to DC at all? And the thing is, this movie's problem isn't really that it's related to DC, but I'll get back to that. The story is this movie's main problem, and there's a lot of problems with it. I'll just quickly go through the other problems before I go through what I think is the main problem. So this story's been chopped to pieces. It's got like 2 intros, 50 intro songs, and it's got like 200 different stories happening simultaneously, and some of them aren't even related to the story, and they don't even lead to anything. Even when you think they're going to lead to anything, you find out they had no consequences at all. They just happened for no good reason, and then they unhappened, and no one ever mentions it again. Okay, sure, whatever. But what is my problem with the story? Well, this movie has a very generic story. And I'll grant you that generic stories can actually work sometimes. But it's a generic story with a very generic villain. The villain is just another one of those evil super beings that hates humanity for no good reason. Not that there aren't good reasons for hating humanity, but hates humanity for no good reason and is gonna destroy the world for no good reason. And she makes this super powerful doomsday device in the center of the city with all these swirling lights, and she needs a lot of time to build it, so there's a ticking clock here, and she's got these foot soldiers that all look the same, and they're all faceless, and they're all super generic. So you got a generic story, generic villain, generic foot soldiers, and a generic weapon in an empty generic city. Yeah, you understand what I'm getting at here. And like, this is something we've never seen before, like, apart from the Transformer movies, all of the Marvel movies, well, not all, but most of them in the previous DC movies. I know what DC is doing here, But if you're gonna copy something, don't copy the bad parts. Like, copy the good things Marvel does. You're like copying the worst things Marvel does. And I'm gonna be honest here, I'm actually fed up with Marvel movies. I wasn't the biggest fan to begin with, but I did enjoy them. But Marvel, I haven't seen all of them, but quite a few of their movies lack good villains. Especially when they start using generic faceless foot soldiers. In my opinion, the most important thing in a movie is, well, obviously your protagonist, but I think the villain is even more important than the protagonist, or villains, depending on how many there are. Okay, so what's the other problem? Well, it's the humor. It just falls flat. It's just way too simplistic, stupid, dumb. Call it what you will. It's basically a sitcom. Something happens. Then someone makes a funny remark. And then there's a pause. I almost expected a laugh track. Okay, there wasn't a laugh track, fortunately, but it's just like a sitcom. And it's like they just expect that the audience is programmed to laugh whenever they want them to laugh. So, no, ha ha ha. Yeah, it doesn't work. It just falls flat. It's too generic. Now, for a good example of good humor, and I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but it's a perfect example. Beavis and Butthead. Like, if you just look at it without reading between the lines, it's just two idiots wandering about doing stupid things. But the things they say and the things they do, it's not like something happens, then there's a pause and a laugh track. They're constantly talking, and if you don't read between the lines, you won't get the humor. So you have to actually use this thing here. You might not have to use it too much, but it doesn't tell you when to laugh. It's just funny because it's funny. You just have to read it, you have to understand it. Anyway, is there a third problem? Yes, there is. And it all is deeply related to the story. So, basically, Amanda Waller wants to initiate Task Force X. Because, what if the next Superman is evil? You want a squad to fight him. Well, apart from El Diablo and the Enchantress, but she just went all wrong. I mean, if you hadn't recruited her, none of this would have happened. So you just fucked it all up, really. But, okay, apart from the Enchantress and El Diablo, none of these members are qualified for fighting Superman. I mean, what you gonna do? Send Harley Quinn as Superman? What is she gonna do? What's her superpower? That she's insane? She's got a bat? Yeah, they're all dead. And even the Enchantress and El Diablo, yeah, they're good support for a team that's gonna fight Superman, but they would have gotten their ass handed to themselves. I mean, just the fact that half of your team was caught by Batman should be an indication that they're not suited for the task at hand. And for the actual mission they have, retrieving Amanda Waller, yeah, I think the army guys would have done a better job. I mean, the army guys are trained for these things. You might argue that Deadshot would have been the guy to have along, but he would have been the only one to have along for retrieving Amanda Waller. And the army guys would have nuked the shit out of the Enchantress and her brother, because really, what they do in the end is just blow them up anyway, so why do they need this task force? Anyway, there's also a lot of other stupid things in the story, like a lot of scenes, minor scenes, but they're there and they piss the shit out of me. But I'm not gonna go through all of them, but a few good examples. Don't archaeologists get the whole don't break shit class anymore? Like, do archaeologists normally just walk into a cave, find an artifact and break it straight away? Now, I believe they're pretty nimble with these things. And when she broke it and got possessed, why didn't the enchantress just release her brother straight away? And why does Amanda Waller keep the enchantress's brother next to her bedroom and not in a super duper secret base underground? Yeah, this movie is stupid. The story is stupid. But okay, how does it hold as a DC movie? So, as I was saying earlier, this movie's problem isn't really the fact that there's any relation to DC. All of its flaws are regardless of that. Like, you could make a good Suicide Squad movie without it being exactly the same as the comics. So, but since it is related to the comics, we gotta go through that as well. There's no reason for Task Force X to exist yet, because the Justice League doesn't exist. Task Force X is formed as an anti-Justice League. Batman's running around gathering Justice League members at, like, in this movie basically. But I can argue, like, why Task Force X, or Argus really, why Argus would have been formed at this point, considering the Kryptonians and the death of Superman and everything that's happened. It does make sense to have Argus at this point, but, like, does it make sense in respect to the comics? Whatever. I'll grant it this one. It would make sense for Argus to exist. The characters. So, how are the characters? On the outside, they seem right, but the more you get to know them, the more you realize they missed the mark. Like Deadshot. He isn't such a wisecracking gangster kind of guy. He's pretty cold, actually, and cynical.
Say, Batman, that's the first time anyone's tried to stop my gunfire by running into it.
Like, there's any kind of humor coming out of Deadshot. It's not really humor, it's not really sarcastic either. It's just a cynical remark, and then he does something pretty fucked up, like this.
Plastique!
C'est la vie.
Usually the humor Deadshot presents is not really him being funny as much as it is him interacting with the world around him. For instance, in the cartoon Assault on Arkham, when he out-crazies the Joker.
You! New guy! I don't like people touching my stuff.
Go ahead. You're out of bullets.
I am not!
You are. You're gonna pull the trigger, and when nothing happens, I'm gonna punch you in the throat and bash your brains out. 3, 2. One.
Hold on, stop counting for a second. I know there are bullets. See?
Or when he's like, whatever, and sleeps with Harley Quinn.
Oh, what the hell?
The only impression I'm getting out of Will Smith is that he's playing Deadshot playing Will Smith. I mean, it kind of feels like Will Smith is cosplaying Deadshot. But it might be because I know Deadshot from the comics, so I might be slightly biased here. Anyway, here's one of the big merits of this movie. For real, it's one of the real redeeming qualities. It has a very, very, very diverse cast, and I love it. Great job. Now I'm going to slightly criticize you, but I'm not sure actually whether I'm criticizing the movie or the comics or whoever actually made these decisions. But wouldn't it have been better to cast Will Smith as Black Spider, because you would have consequently brought 4 characters from the DC universe who are actually black and made them more popular. As it is, Deadshot is popular enough from before. Like, he's super popular as it is. So it was a kind of a wasted opportunity, but still, well done on the diverse cast, really.
Shoot your mouth off now, Deadshot.
Then there's Flag. This guy's one mean SOB you don't fuck with in the DC universe. Threatening as hell, not a wimp who needs constant saving. And they all fear him, cause they know if they cross him, he'll blow their heads off without a second thought. Let me give you a few examples. This is Flag. And this. And this.
Most fun I've had since my last root canal. Well, gang, guess I'll be seeing.
Yeah, him and Deadshot don't really get along. Now, let me ask you. Who the hell was that whiny little brat who needed constant fucking saving? Cause that sure as hell wasn't Flag.
Dream on, dirtbag. 5 years. You sign up for missions like this for 5 years. If you survive, then you go free. You don't like it, there's a nice warm seat waiting for you back at Bel Rev Correctional.
Tell me, Colonel, what's Waller got on you?
Not a thing. Some of us don't have to be blackmailed into serving their country.
Okay, so when it comes to Harley, I'm kind of on the fence. I guess she was accurate, but I'm not sure, something wasn't right. Like, she's always been annoying, and I know that's the idea behind the character, and she's actually a very good supporting character for the Joker in the animated series.
Well, that was a complete fiasco. If we weren't so strapped for cash, I'd never have touched this job. Give me the loot.
Don't you have it?
Me? You were the last one to... I thought I told you to get gas!
We're broke, remember? What was I supposed to do? Fill the tank, shoot the guy, and drive off?
Mm-hmm.
Now you tell me!
If they just made her jokes a bit less frequent and a bit funnier, tweaked her a bit, had her to be a bit less annoying and given her a bit less screen time, I think she could have been really good. But that's not my beef with Harley at all. Like, my beef is the fact that she's in Task Force X. It makes no sense having her. I mean, what's her skill set? That she's crazy? Oh, yay. At least the other ones have a purpose. I'm not... Like, I don't even like the fact that she knows how to fight. And I know this is also a problem in the comics and the animated series, but... where did she learn how to fight? Like, is that a minimum requirement in Arkham Asylum? They have to know karate and acrobatics, but really, those two aren't going to help you in a real fight either, but hey, that might be the martial artist in me talking. So, in my opinion, Harley Quinn shouldn't have been in this movie, or the story should have been different. Because, for instance, in Attack on Arkham Asylum, the cartoon, it makes sense having Harley there. Here, it makes no sense. I also like the scene where Amanda Waller is like, she's even crazier and more fearless than the Joker. And the very next scene, you see her terrified because the Joker is driving them off up here. I guess Amanda Waller was wrong.
Freeze, clown!
Quinn, stop!
He's mine, Bats!
You wouldn't dare. You don't have the guts. Not in a million years, would you?
Anyway, moving on to Captain Boomerang. Okay, all I know about this character is that he's a tech-savvy guy, but everything he builds is somehow related to boomerangs. I guess it's because he's Australian, and kudos on using an actual Australian actor. Good job on that. Anyway, we didn't really get to see much of his tech savviness, except for the scene near the end where you see him piloting this boomerang towards the Enchantress to spy on her. That's cool. I liked it. You actually got to see that side of him. In the animated series, he's genuinely funny.
Time off for good behavior, you might say. I cut me a good deal. Got my sentence down to 5 years. And now they tell me I'm reformed.
Reformed? The man who robbed an entire fleet of armored cars in 1 month?
Now that was a crime.
And he was genuinely funny here.
Oh, yeah, the fire bloke, eh? Well, looky here. Fire!
But here's the thing. The whole unicorn thing was just stupid, and it undermines his character. And considering that you already have Harley Quinn playing the class clown and Deadshot playing Will Smith, you don't really need more super silly villains. Super sillians?
I almost lost it when this bonehead set off the metal detector.
75 cents is 75 cents. I'm supposed to throw away money?
I really don't know anything about El Diablo, to be honest. I might have seen him once or twice in the comics or the animated series. I found the fight in the end to be funny, to say the least. It just didn't fit the feel of the movie, but neither did the villains. And it felt like the only reason El Diablo was in the movie or on the team was because none of them really stood a chance against the Enchantress or her brother. So they had to have some kind of a superpowered guy on the team for the last boss fight. And I didn't feel shite when he died. Why? Because him, like the rest of the movie, is just a simplified, generic character you don't really care much about. Still, I guess if you were gonna make the argument that you're making a team to fight Superman, El Diablo would be the one character you'd really go for then. Killer Croc. I've seen many alterations of this character. Don't know what to say. There's 2 memorable scenes with him. Otherwise, he's like the quiet, stoic character in the background. You don't really get to see him much, so it's hard to criticize a character. But at the same time, since I never got too much of him, it's pretty alright. So the 2 pretty cool scenes are, one of them is at the bar. They all get a good scene at the bar, so that's cool. He's just sitting in the corner having a drink and a smoke, and he says like one word, and I loved it. The other one is the whole I live in the sewers, you're just tourists. That one's pretty good. So I can't complain, but yeah, I didn't get to see enough of him.
You know, they used to call Killer Croc the meanest dude in the Wrestling Federation. Now they'll call him the guy who iced the Batman. Don't hold your breath.
Okay, so finally, what everyone's been waiting for. The Joker. We didn't really get enough of him. Like, we didn't get enough to evaluate him properly, but we got too much of him in this movie. So, what do I mean? I mean, he's rather pointless, because nothing he does leads to anything. Like, he saves Harley Quinn, but is shut down immediately, and Harley Quinn is back on the team without there being any consequences for her betrayal. And there's all of these flashbacks, and these are also pointless because, one, as I said, the Joker story leads nowhere. The other reason they're pointless is because you're getting a lot of Harley and Joker, but you're getting a lot of Harley, so you're getting her backstory revealed, but it would have been a lot better to, instead of using flashbacks, let the characters reveal their story by interacting with each other. As it is now, you're not getting to know the team, you're just getting to know Harley Quinn and her backstory. That's all. So, back to the Joker. He's a zany mobster at best. We can't really say much about him as it is, because we don't really see him that much. We just get to see some of the crazy parts. In my opinion, Joker's part in this movie should have just been saving Harley Quinn in the very end, if at all. Because as it is now, he's just stealing screen time from the other characters and their relationship. But, and it's a big but. I like big butts, and I can't lie. I would have liked to watch this other movie. This movie with Harley Quinn and the Joker and their relationship and Harley Quinn's development. And if you throw Batman in there and James Gordon, maybe Nightwing, that could have been a very interesting story, actually. Hell, throw in Azrael. Now that could have been interesting. But as I said, as it is now, he's just stealing screen time. The good scene. So, the one scene that's actually good. The one where they're in the bar, and there's actually some interaction, and there's character development instead of generic one-liners and silly scenes. It's actually proper good. And you get to learn a bit about everyone, actually. Then Flag just ruins everything, but still, good scene. Wish there was more of it. Choppy scenes. Okay, I kind of mentioned this earlier. Actually, I mentioned all of these points earlier, but the beginning of the movie and the Batman scenes seem to be from a completely different movie, and so does the Joker scenes. And all the hit songs just don't fit in there, and they're coming one after the other. So here's one of the biggest weaknesses this movie has. It's that it's trying to be the Guardians of the Galaxy. Effects in action. Okay, the fights. Kind of boring and stupid, to be honest, but then again, this might be the martial artist in me. I've grown up with Hong Kong movies which have excellent fighting, where you see the technique properly, you see them do the actual kicks, you see everything. They're great. I also been doing martial arts my whole life, and I would say I know quite a bit about fighting. I've competed, I've sparred a lot. Yeah, no, the fights don't look good, to be honest, and the movie has overrated the value of filming things in the dark. And this is not a good action scene. Show me the action. Don't show me Will Smith just standing there and shooting then a pile of bodies. And don't make an action scene a big mess. If you're making a mess, make it a controlled mess. So yeah, the action wasn't good. And then there's things like the Enchantress has been fighting them for 15 minutes straight, right? And then she just shouts, "Enough!" and does some voodoo magic and pulls all the weapons towards her. Sorry, but why didn't you do this like half an hour ago? Like as soon as they arrived, or like before they killed your brother? That might have helped.
They're so stupid! Stupid!
And then, if we're talking about the effects, well, you have the generic foot soldiers who look like crap. The Enchantress looks like crap. Her brother looks like crap. What other effects are there? Well, basically, it all just looks kinda crap. And then there's a scene with Harley Quinn tricking the Enchantress.
It's a trap!
Should have seen that coming miles away. And if you didn't, you should have seen it coming when she used about 20 seconds to bend down and grab that sword to stab you.
Stupid!
Marvel or us. So, I know I've gone through this earlier, pretty much all of these points, but the thing is, it's just worth mentioning it again. The movie's biggest failure to an extent is the fact that the studio seems to just overrule everything and turn it into a Marvel copy. As previously mentioned, you have the generic villain with the generic doomsday device, and you have the music, which is basically copycat of Guardians of the Galaxy. And if you think about it, the Suicide Squad itself is kind of similar to the Guardians of the Galaxy team, considering they're all kind of villains, really. So, DC, don't try to copy Marvel. Like, where DC went wrong is basically where they started copying Marvel, and they did it with Batman vs. Superman, and partially with the Superman movies as well, kinda. The good parts in those movies are the parts that are very gruesome and violent, which aren't Marvel at all. Stick to that. Keep it dark. That's what your fan base likes. Like, the guys who like the DC movies, they like them because they're darker, grittier, more real. Stick to that. In conclusion, yeah, the movie is stupid, some mindless entertainment at best, fails in every aspect otherwise. So if you want to watch the Suicide Squad, I would recommend you to watch Attack on Arkham or Justice League Episode 17, Justice League Unlimited, not the other one. It's called Task Force X, which really makes you wonder, how can they fuck this up when there's so much material where it's done right? Hell, even my friend said it. Arrow's Suicide Squad episode was better. And you know what? He's right. And what's even funnier? Arrow kinda sucks.
No. This can't be.
God, Abutten! I want the boy alive! Listen to me! Can you hear me? You belong with us!
It's that squad again.
Commander, listen to me! Give us the
Lale Lule Lo!
and we'll be gone!
I think I'm the commander? Fuck this shit.
Come on, Commander! We can take you easily!
Go ahead and try!
You damn people,
Huh. I guess that's why they call him the Suicide Squad.
This is W.A. Dunkel, signing out. And just for the record, call me Wolf.